Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So, it seems like you guys are also enjoying the Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream, or you enjoyed the beta at the very least. A lot of new people have kind of rolled in, so just want to say, hey, to all the new subscribers, I appreciate you guys actually taking the time to press that subscribe button. We will be playing more SAO in the future. It's a game I actually do have a lot of fun with, and though a lot of us have been burned in the past when it comes to SAO games, I know a lot of us are looking for that really fun SAO game to really sink your teeth into. I think we might have finally found it with the right team behind it and the right sort of mindset behind it. It could be something we enjoy for quite some time, or it could die in a fire in 2 weeks. Who knows? Only time will tell. Either way, with going through all my comments, because contrary to popular belief, I do read all of my comments. I may not respond to all of them, but I do read all of them, and I do. I see something that's very commonly happening in the comments right now. I wanted to make a video talking about everything that I learned, not only about the game, but about like just things around the game itself, monetization, and all that stuff when it comes to Fractured Daydream. But before I jump that, if you're new here, as always, my name is Chrono. I usually primarily cover PSO2 content, but we're branching out, as I mentioned earlier. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we're going towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Doesn't mean a lot to me, all the support you guys have shown so far, and I'm looking forward to gaming with you guys in the future. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with this. So there are a couple of things that are like just misconceptions about how the game works, and I don't really blame most people. To be honest, we're not really used to paying that much attention to SAO games. A lot of times they just pop up out of nowhere, and we're like, oh, new SAO game, we'll have to try this out. So paying attention to some of the early stuff is not really something that a lot of people do. Had to do a bit of digging to find some of this stuff. Shout out to other YouTubers such as Gamer Turk and Havian, who I've followed for a very long time, who went out of their way to look into the stuff, even when they usually, or even I know Javian hasn't covered an SEO game in a very long time. But this seems to be pulling him back in towards SAO games. So yeah, they were able to get some information about the game themselves. I'm gonna go ahead and compile most of what's important that most people tend to be asking about consistently here in today's video. So here's everything I learned about Fractured Daydream. Start things off, we're going to talk about kind of like the pricing and the head start for the game itself. The game's got 3 individual packs. It has a base pack, a digital deluxe, and a digital premium pack. The base pack, if pre-ordered, of course, will give you just the base game and Kirito's outfit and swords. Like there's this really, I mean, I think it's kind of weird personally, but I think it's playing off of like the one Underworld situation that Kirito goes through. But there's a Demon King Kirito costume along with a set of says Demon King's horns, and Demon King's robe. It does also show a set of swords. It doesn't mention the sword specifically, so we'll have to see how that goes. But just a bonus costume that you get for pre-ordering the game, and that's pretty much it. Just base game price, 60 bucks. If you were to go and get the digital deluxe version, which I put as $85 UDD, I'm not sure what that is, but USD, you'll get the game itself, of course, the pre-order bonus of pre-ordering the game for the outfit and all that stuff, which you only get for pre-ordering, by the way, which usually there's like a leeway time for when the game first comes out, something like that. So if you plan on picking up the game, it's a pre-purchase basically. It's essentially how it works. So you get the game itself, of course, pre-order bonus. You also get Character Pass Volume 1. And Character Pass Volume 1 already has confirmed the characters that will be released in it. So you have Straya, M, and Pita Huey. I know those are some characters people really, really wanted to be in the game. So shout out to those of you guys who are looking forward to playing those characters. They will be available in Character Pass Volume 1. The first, well, I think it's what, Volume 1 and 2? No, it's Volume 1. So it's Worlds Beyond 1 and Worlds Beyond 2. Straya will be in Worlds Beyond 1, and then M and Pita Huey will be in Worlds Beyond 2. You also get a bonus stamp set, the Prism Heart costume, which it's a costume that female characters in general, I believe, will be able to wear, since it seems like the male and female characters are both sharing outfits. So you will be able to get a hold of that, which it says it's a hat and a dress. So moving on, we also have the digital premium package, which will get you basically everything I said earlier. On top of that, you're also going to be getting the Wild Joker dress, as well as the digital art book and soundtrack. Now, Wild Joker dress is like, it's similar again to the Prism Heart costume. Basically, it's going to be for female characters in general. I'm not sure if they're going to lock specific characters to it or not, but in the beta, most of the female characters shared outfits, except like, well, no, even their main outfits, they kind of shared across characters. So I imagine that's going to work the same way with these two outfits, the Prism Heart and the Wild Joker dress. They didn't show a male variant of these, so I don't think there's going to be one, to be perfectly honest, or maybe the male characters will be able to wear them in some sort of like cross thing. I don't know. Not sure how they're doing that, but they haven't shown it off. And of course, we'll have to wait till the actual game releases. It's also worth mentioning that with the $85 pack and the $100 pack, you also get a 3-day head start to playing the game itself. If you just get the base version, you don't get that head start. Kind of an L, in my opinion. I feel like if you pre-order the game, you should have the head start no matter what, whether it be the $60, $85, or $100 USD. I don't think the extra $15 is why people are going to quite literally, pay for the head start itself. For most people, I think it's just going to be, hey, I'll just wait the 3 days. It's not the end of the world. Those who are planning on getting the extra stuff are going to get the extra stuff, and they'll also have the head day or the 3-day head start. So L, on my opinion, from Bandai Namco, but teaches their own. Moving past that, we are going to talk about some gameplay mechanics. Some people were confused about how that actually worked out. So just so you kind of understand how the game itself works or what it is you're purchasing, essentially, the game's got a full single player story that you'll play through. Using the single player story, you'll unlock characters, and then you have the multiplayer aspect, which is kind of separate. That's kind of like where you got your multiplayer quests. As of right now, we know there are 3 multiplayer types of quests that will exist. We have co-op bosses, which are just like standard boss fights, where you'll be fighting bosses, one-on-one. Well, 1-on-20. Co-op fields, which are like the field maps where essentially there's one big field. You and your party will be dropped in one section of the field itself. You'll then, go through your specific mission. And when you complete your mission, it'll take you into a shared zone where all the parties start to come together. And then after you complete the missions there in that, shared zone, then you move on to the boss, the boss field. So then you fight the boss at the very end with the full party, and you kind of go from there. And then there's also supposed to be, which we didn't get to appreciate, or we didn't get to experience in the beta, unfortunately, which is the exploration style missions. Basically, they're supposed to be for solo and co-op. They mentioned specifically that you'll be able to run into other people in these exploration missions, even if you go in solo, which you can fully queue for solo, or take a party. It's totally up to you. I'm not sure how that works out, if you'll be able to just stay like private in solo and not have to interact with other people, or if you just come across other people regardless of the situation, or if they'll share in like the missions that you're doing and so on and so forth. But the exploration is supposed to just have the ability to go out, do missions, and kind of just stay out in the field and do your own thing, not having to worry about, queuing into a group of like 20 or anything along those lines. So anyone concerned about not being able to get into group queues, which I don't foresee that being a problem, the way they set things up, you basically just queue and get matched with people randomly. You don't have to have a preset party. So pretty easy there. But you'll be able to experience the explorations on your own. As far as leveling goes, there is like account and character leveling. Leveling your character seemed to increase your base stats as well as unlock cosmetics for the character. The max level in the beta was level 30. I'm not sure if it's going to go past that at all, but once you hit level 30, you unlocked your passive. Every character had a single passive. You unlock that passive for use on other characters. So it wouldn't take it away from the character, of course, that you had it on. It just meant that, like, say we play Kirito, we got into 30. He has the damage dealer passive. We can jump over to Asuna, and she has her passive, but I can also add on Kirito's damage dealer passive. And as you unlock more, passives for the characters, you can mix and match and kind of set up, your best setup for any individual character that you're looking at. As far as loot goes, loot drops the same for the entire party. So your entire 4-man party will get the same loot, except for the bonus loot, from what we can tell. The bonus loot does seem to be individualistic, and you can lose bonus loot for each death. So if you are not revived when you die, you do lose 1 piece of bonus loot. So it's important, revive your friends. If you see people on the ground, because they're losing out on loot, and it definitely sucks. And sometimes those runbacks are pretty brutal. This is also affected by accessories. So the bonus loot is affected by accessories, meaning you can get extra bonus loot if you have an accessory on that says gives extra bonus loot. So you do have the ability to get that extra bonus loot. I used it through the entire beta to get as much loot as possible, and still did not get any legendary Thunder Swords. Very, very upsetting. As far as the decorations go, so these, you would probably call them accessories if you're looking at them from a costume perspective, but they call them decorations to separate them from the actual accessories in game. These decorations, there are some rare decorations that appear in each quest. There's a rare chance for you to get these decorations. These are not shared amongst the party. So if one person, like, let's say, gets the hat, everyone doesn't also automatically get the hat itself. It doesn't drop for everyone the same. I did kind of jump the gun on this, so I'm going to roll back a little bit when it comes to the loot situation. Keep in mind, everyone gets the same appraised loot, excuse me. So everyone gets the same unappraised loot. When you appraise it, it's different for everyone. So I'm not, just because I got a legendary sword doesn't mean someone else is going to get a legendary sword for Kirito as well. They could get like a legendary sword for Asuna, or a legendary, gun or something along those lines. Like it just depends on what they get specifically. It's just the base piece. Like, because I got a legendary in my base loot, everyone got a legendary in their base loot as well. That's kind of how that's affected. but the decorations don't work that way. The decorations are specific to the individual. You just have a very low chance to get it. And it's not that one person gets, another person can't. I have heard people, like multiple people getting them. So it is like your own drop chance, but it is rare. So good luck. Weapons themselves can be scrapped for materials. So you scrap weapons for materials that you use to enhance other weapons. Crafting is in the game, but we didn't really get to use it outside of enhancing weapons. So that is something that does exist. We do know it's going to work. I'm not sure if it's going to be closer to like what we had in Fatal Bullet, which was really good, where you could like swap out the lines on abilities and kind of tailor your own weapon properly. It was very expensive, but once you got high enough in the game, you just had currency to burn, so you could build your weapon that you're trying to use. So we'll have to see once we get full release, and we'll talk about that, of course, in a separate video as well. And here comes the really juicy part of this that most people are going to want to know about the most: monetization. Now, this is something that I totally 100% am going to be very, very blatant, very straightforward. I don't want to sugarcoat this in the slightest, because I think it's very important not to in these situations themselves. Just because something doesn't bother me or doesn't bother you doesn't mean it doesn't bother everyone else. It's something that people have their own standards when it comes to, and that's why we have to look at it from a very objective situation. You can't, because it doesn't bother, like, you can't look at it from like, this isn't a big deal for me, that means it isn't a big deal at all. It does matter. So as far as monetization goes, the game is full price at $60. So keep that in mind. Technically, I say full price, but apparently full price AAA games now are $70, not $60. As much as I'd love to live in the yesteryear that was $60, that makes sense to me. I do have to be, we got to be straight up. We got to be honest. Technically, $70 is full price, which is even more expensive in other places, which absolutely sucks. Gaming is pretty expensive, but it only feels even more expensive that because there's so many lower price alternatives that in a lot of cases actually end up being overall better than some of the AAA games. Game studios. Yikes. Anyway, so as far as monetization goes, there is a cash shop in the game. From what we understand of this cash shop, it is just cosmetics. It is just outfits. I do not know if it's going to be different than what is attainable in game, if it's going to be the same, if any of the outfits in the cosmetic shop are going to be attainable in game, or how they're going to be doing that. So take this all with a grain of salt. I can give you my assumption of the situation, or my guess. Likely is going to be a situation where they rotate out outfits or something along those lines in the cash shop itself, or maybe add in a bunch of outfits into the cash shop. It just depends on how they decide to do it. And those people would like prefer it always just be, keep building up a cash shop. But for players who come in much later, they look at that cash shop and they're like, there's so much stuff in here, it's overwhelming. So there are two sides to that coin. It just depends on what side of that coin that you personally are on. For all we know for certain, though, is a cash shop does exist. It is not gacha. You just purchase the outfit that you want. However, it's likely to probably use abusive pricing strategies. Now, sounds pretty aggressive, but let me explain how that actually works. Essentially, abusive pricing is when you purchase a currency and then use that currency to purchase the item that you're looking for. This tends to blur the lines of the actual price of what the item itself is. Granted, players, of course, break this down eventually anyway, and a lot of times the packs you purchase them in don't line up with how much the item itself costs, meaning that you either have not enough or you have a little too much. They end up having to have a little bit end up overpaying for the item, and then, of course, now you have the mindset of, oh, I've got a couple, I can use this towards the next item, so on and so forth. So while it varies from company to company how this is used, it can be used pretty terribly, but in other situations, it can be used like it's totally okay. It's not a big deal. Sometimes just a little bit of an extra bonus for a price that you would have expected anyway. An example I would say would be like, imagine it's like, a dollar every 100 of whatever currency, and the currency itself, whenever you purchased, $20 of that currency, you got a bonus 200 of the currency. So $20 would get you basically what's worth $22 worth of currency, and the outfit is $20. Well, now you can purchase the pack that you need. You got a little bit of bonus currency. Now it might be cheaper for the next time you purchase it. So that can still work in that abusive pricing situation where it just kind of like sets you up for failure, but it teaches their own. It's just one of those situations you kind of have to decide on if you're okay with or not. Now, it is totally valid to have the mindset that this is a full price game. Again, not technically, but this is what we would expect to be a full price game. To have any form of cash shop is unacceptable, and that's totally fine. Though I'm coming to terms with the current market of gaming these days, it's just not the norm. It's unfortunately the norm for it to be much worse than this. So if this is kind of like the middle ground of what they decided to go with, honestly, I'm not too concerned. I expected something like this with live service in the first place. And this is like the best case scenario of what I would expect with live service. As of right now, we don't know of any form of like a battle pass or anything along those lines. Well, we did see something like that in the announcements, or not in the announcements specifically, but in the And the live stream that they did, it didn't look like a purchased battle pass. It looked more like a battle pass that just had like extra quests to push your levels higher, which to me just sounds like dailies, not necessarily a battle pass in a sense. I didn't really see a paid or a free, version or track or anything along those lines, providing more resources to someone who's paying money versus not. It looks to be strictly just purchase outfits if you want to purchase outfits. DLC packs 1 and 2 have already been confirmed. They are, of course, like I mentioned earlier, they're character packs. It's Straya, M, and Pita Huey. The first pack is going to be Straya, and the second pack is going to be M and Pita Huey. It looks like the content side of these packs, so there's content being added into the game as well, is free DLC. So the content portion is completely free from what we can tell, and the characters are what's paid. So if you're not concerned with that character specifically, then you can always skip the pack itself and just download the free pack, and you're good to go. It isn't clear if you'll be able to necessarily play with players who have that. I don't imagine they would separate their player base by that and having to have the character or anything along those lines. It's just likely you won't be able to select the character and character select. You'll probably still be able to get loot for them and stuff like that, which would kind of suck if you get a really good piece of loot for a character you don't have. But yeah, it's one of those situations that you kind of deal with when a characters like that release. So best case scenario, if you really don't want to pay for anything extra outside of paying for the game, it looks like you'll be able to do all of the content for free. Assuming they keep that same strategy and they don't change it up for the following month. That is all set to release the same month as the game releases. So we have 2 packs already, and those 2 packs seem to be 2 extra bosses they'll be adding into the game. And again, if this is an issue for you overall, I would adapt a wait and see approach, maybe take a step back, see if that's something that you're okay with itself. You can even go and pre-order the game, perfectly honest, if you're playing like on Steam or something along those lines. As long as you don't open and play the game immediately when it releases or anything along those lines, you still have that 2 hours. You can always return the game. So keep that in mind for anything you're doing as far as pre-purchasing or anything along those lines. Don't miss out on free stuff, but go on with an informed decision to make sure that you're not doing something you really don't want to be stuck with doing. And that's pretty much everything. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments below. It was a lot to talk about. I didn't want to make sure that I could get all this information to you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to toss in the comments below. Or if there's always a link to my Discord, you can always jump into Discord. I'm at the very, very top of my Discord on the far right-hand side. You can click directly on once you're in my Discord, and you can DM me directly if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer them or find the answers for you guys if I happen to have it. Or just join our community. I'd love to have you there. I'm going to go ahead and start open a section for SAO as the game releases. So it might not even just be for this SAO game. It could be for a lot of them. So I may have to take a step back and go to some previous SAO games. Maybe we'll dust off Monetization Licorice again, because I hear a lot of people that really enjoyed Monetization Licorice. Apparently, its expansions did some wonders for the game that I was unaware of. So I'll have to take a look yet again. Either way, guys, that's all I've got for you today. If there's anything I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments. Like if you enjoyed the video. Sub if you want to keep up with more. As always, thanks to channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I will see you all next time. Take care, my friends. Peace out.